Wow, the weather people really said it was going to be 80 degrees outside today, but it's actually 100. That's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes the weather people don't really get the weather right, but at least they try predicting it.
Forecasting is really hard to do. What is so important about forecasting? I mean, businesses don't even need it, right?
That's a good question. Let me go ahead and research that for you, and then I'll tell you about it.
Please do. Thank you.
Hi Sabina, it's Angie. I know you had some questions about forecasting the other day. I did go into some research and I have some great details, examples for you to know and to learn about forecasting. So basically, the main point of forecasting is to reduce the uncertainty surrounding business decisions and increasing profits. Forecasting and decision making helps as well with increasing profits. Some forecasts predict future levels of major economic variables, such as like GDP, interest rate, inflation, income, and etc. Just for an example, an accurate forecast of the sales will help the business choose how many workers to hire, how much inventory they need to make, how much production they need to do, and how many things to order, necessarily the manufacturing side of the business. There are also studies of forecasts, past customer buyings that have helped predict the future of customer buying habits, which determine how much stuff the business also needs to provide, consumer-wise and business-wise. The new technology, the forecasting, will also help future sales and the business run effectively in general. So this is a really big way of helping the business stay productive. There are 5 factors of forecasting. First one is accuracy desired. Second one is time permitted. The third one is the complexity of the situation. The fourth one is time period, and then the fifth one is accuracy could suffer. These are the 5 factors that businesses look at to see which one will help them in the future later on to choose which method of forecasting to help them produce their business. But usually for businesses, the best forecasting is to be more straightforward and uncomplicated methods. With sources of forecasts, public or private businesses can do either one. Sometimes though, there is independent forecasting, which means the price is too high for smaller businesses, so they figure out their own way instead of going to a public forecasting mechanism that they figure out their own. But business and trade forecasting is more for Fortune, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and etc. So now that I've explained some methods and the type of businesses that use forecasting, there's two certain ways to look at data. The first one is cross-sectional data collected from different groups or locations at the same time. The other one is time series data. It's collected from one or many locations over time. It's more frequently used in forecasting. So time series data is the most efficient one for most businesses. To look at data for forecasting, those were the main 2 things. So now we'll be looking at forecasting procedures. The first one is extrapolation. The idea that whatever happened in the past will happen in the future again. So that's one of them. Graphical analysis other businesses use. Plotting of data on a graph to see patterns that are in the present. One thing about forecasting as well is that businesses adjust for inflation. Increase in price will increase in demand. It'll decrease supply, or both. So it could go both ways, which is also where the price index is, which calculates for the same period of time. Also, other patterns you could look at, which is cyclical patterns, is basically the patterns in price and quantities that extend beyond from just 1 year. So it's a pattern that looks at maybe 1 to 3 years or even more. It just depends on how long that business has been using that type of method and looking at those patterns. So basically for industries, if they're at the top of this cycle, they would most likely recommend not going any higher with the prices because they don't know when the the prices will go higher. If you're at the bottom of the cycle, because your prices are high, and if you're at the bottom of the cycle, you might consider moving your prices up higher. So basically, if you're at the high point of the cycle and your prices are already high, maybe not moving the prices should stay, because you don't know when the prices will go higher again. But if you're at the bottom of the cycle, then it's a good time to go up with the prices. So understanding this cyclical pattern can really help in income and sales. It can also help the processors and the salespeople better decisions in the income and the prices that they choose. The most important ones are understanding the assumptions behind the forecast. Thing is just basically predicting the future, so it is kind of hard to predict the future because it's not scientifically proven that anyone can predict the future, but with a bunch of data and analytics, it's able to predict what could happen in the future. Easier to have forecasting methods that work with the businesses that are using different types of methods, to understand the ones that help them predict the best outcome for their business. So the second thing is to update forecasts. So like as businesses go on throughout the year, there could be a major decline in production and sales, or there could be an incline in production and sales. So updating forecasts and data and everything will help businesses understand the patterns that they see in the year or at the end of the year, and to see help them better, which didn't help them at all. Another thing is to use alternative outcomes, so not just stick with one outcome, because again, as I said before, you could have a huge decline or you could have a huge incline. So having different multiple outcomes that are somewhat in the same range as if you have a decline in production or sales or just in general, but also having a middle average of seeing what could basically be the base outcome of everything would be helpful to have as well. So you'll have 3 groups: incline, decline, and middle average. If this does fail, it should be in for investigation to see what went wrong, what can they do to prevent it from happening again, and what other method could the business use. So in general, forecasting is a productive way of trying to get the business income and outcome a steady level instead of it being all over the place. You're asking again, like, what's the most important thing of forecasting? And all the reasons that I have provided are the most important to figure out what method works well with the business. That method will then go into your production, your sales, your consumers, and everything, and it'll analyze all the data that the business has encountered, and then by months, weeks, whatever it is, they can see what is going on in their sales, productions, or anything, and what method helped them understand their income a lot better than the others. Once a business finds the one that works well with them, they will be set for the rest of the time. They can see the incline of sales, they can see the decline of production, or whatever works better. But yeah, in the eyes of people or in business, forecasting is the best way to see how their business will do. So this is why forecasting is very important to know for your business. But yeah, let me know if you have any more questions, Amina. Thanks.
Gee, I got your video. Thank you so much for the information that you provided. I'll definitely make sure to use it in the future for my upcoming business or hopefully potential businesses that I have. Thanks, bye.